All right, people, we're back for part two. Part two. Two. Okay. I have moved on from my sparkling water to now coffee. It's like freezing in here. The AC is really on, and it's not that warm outside anyways. So, okay, here we go. So we're moving on to part two. I hope you watched part one. If you've not watched part one, don't watch part two. Okay, go back and watch part one first, because I'm not recapping. I'm just moving straight forward. That was an intermission, and now we're moving on to part two. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and we're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep rolling. What's up, dude? You can come in. I'll pause. Pardon me, people. 1 second. Okay. Sorry, I had a colleague. I have a very busy classroom. People are just in and out, in and out, in and out. Okay, so let's continue with our discussion. Okay, we're moving into integrating quotes. So, 1 second. Good to see y'all can see it. All right, here we go. All right, come on. All right, here we go. How to integrate quotes in literary analysis. Because this is what you'll need to do in your essay. You'll need to integrate quotes from the story, integrate quotes from your research. Okay. All right. So first off, understand that there are 3 parts to your paragraphs. Okay. The first thing that should come in your paragraph is a claim. That's your main idea. Your first 2 sentences, should be your main ideas in the form of a claim stating what the paragraph is about, and it should echo your thesis statement. Then you should have quotes, okay, which is your support. So you have your claim, and then you go into your support. So if I was writing about the yellow wallpaper, again, it would be something like the setting in the yellow wallpaper contributes to the setting of isolation in the yellow wallpaper contributes to the main character's loss of her sanity. And then quotes, I'll start having Dr. Andrews discusses that isolation causes, quote, blah, 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 blah. I have a quote from my resource. And then I would have my analysis, which is where I explain what the quotes mean to my main idea. Okay. The analysis should be 50% of your body paragraph. So you have a claim, which is your main idea for that paragraph. It's just one idea. Then you have a quote that you're going to use to apply to your short story analysis. And then you explain it. Okay. You do not want to have too many quotes. You're not trying to prove yourself. You're not trying to be like, oh, look, buyers, look how many quotes I have in my paper. Okay. You do not want too many quotes. You want a powerful quote. You don't want too many quotes. All right. So like, look, you just have 1, maybe 2 quotes per paragraph from your source. Okay. So it should be the best one, and it shouldn't be long. It should be pretty short. Your essay is your argument. Too many quotations can overpower your voice. Quote only words, sentences, or passages that are powerful. But look, for this paper, don't use any passages. Okay. It needs to be less than a sentence. Okay. And I'm going to show you how to break down long quotes. All right. Use them sparingly. And then finally, the most important thing, no drop quotes. A drop quote is when you just drop a quotation into your paper without any type of integration, without any type of, hold on 1 second. What's up? Hey. All right, sorry, y'all. Okay. Resuming share. I'm telling you, I'm a very popular person. Okay. All right, here we go. So, I mean, look, make sure that it flows. Hey. All right, so what I'm going to show you in a little bit is how to integrate your quotes so that way they flow smoothly. All right, you want your quote to be almost a part of your own sentence so that way it sounds very natural. Okay. All right, so first off, ellipses. When you have a longer quote, okay, and you want to omit words from it to make that quote shorter, you can do so as long as the words that you omit doesn't change the meaning of the quote. Okay. So when omitting words from within a single sentence, use only 3 ellipses dots. 3-point ellipses have single typed spaces before and after each of the 3 dots. So Walter had. So if you notice here, okay, there's a space after water and there's a space before had. Okay. And so when if I read your paper or someone reads your paper and there's an ellipses in between words, that means that indicates that there was something there, but you deemed it unnecessary and it just made the sentence too long or made it confusing. That's okay. You can leave words out to shorten the quotes as long as you have ellipses. And what you left out cannot change the meaning of the word. I'm sorry, of the quote. All right. Brackets. Let's say you want to use a quote that has a pronoun in it, and your reader might not know what the pronoun is that is being referred to. Okay, because you're pulling a quote out from a larger piece, and so if we were reading that quote in this original source, we would understand what that word that's being used is. But if we're pulling it out of that source, and so that your reader is only reading it in this isolated situation in your paper, they might not understand some of the words. So you can use a bracket to replace the confusing word with another word that better clarifies what it is. So use brackets to specify ambiguous pronouns within a quotation. Okay. So for example, as revealed to me, Oedipus, by the Delphi Oracle. Okay. So here we have a bracket that indicates who me is. Okay. Change a word to adjust grammatical issues. So like, for example, all right, let's say that the original said, quote, possession of self-assertion. So if we use that exact quote, possession of self-assertion, it would not make sense in this sentence if we wrote keeps her from being possession of self-assertion. It doesn't make sense. So possession is changed to possessed, all right, because it's a different conjugation. We've conjugated that word into a different grammatical form to fit the way it's being used in the sentence. The meaning doesn't change, okay? Just the way it's spelled changes. Keeps her from being, quote, possessed of self-assertion. So in the original, possessed isn't the word. The original is possession, but the word possession wouldn't fit in our sentence correctly. So we've changed it. Okay. So look, you cannot rely on the quotations to do the work for you. Quotations is just color. It's just added to your paper to add some what we essentially call ethos, okay, credibility. But you have to do all the logical argumentation for that paper, in that paper, okay? You must always follow a quotation or paraphrase with commentary. Never end a paragraph with a quotation. If you drop in a quote integrated, you have to then explain it. Okay. Quotations should fit into your argument. If punctuation, pronouns, or verb tenses do not flow with your own words, paraphrase or make minor changes to the quotation, surrounding them with brackets. All right, integrating quotes. First, you got to use an introducing clause and then add the quotes. So for example here, Gatsby is not to be regarded as a personal failure because, and we go right into the quotes, Gatsby turned out all right at the end, according to Nick. This is a complex sentence because it's a subordinate conjunction. Duh. So we have the lead in, we have a signal phrase, and then we go into the quote. All right. If you were to delete that quote from this sentence right here, it would be an incomplete sentence because it would go from because to according. and that's incomplete. If you can delete all of your quotes and there's no incomplete sentences, something's wrong. Okay. All right. Fitzgerald gives Nick a muted tribute to the hero. If you cannot figure out how to signal into your quote, you cannot figure out a way to integrate your quote, you can't figure out how to use a verb into your quote, and one time in your paper, just once, you can use a semicolon. I'm sorry, an actual colon. If you use a colon, then you can lead into the quote. All right. And just have your sentence. All right. So this one time you can use a colon. Good morning, ladies. All right. This works best if your quotation is a complete clause, okay? And you can only do it once in your essay, please, okay? You can also provide an assertion of your own with quoted material worked in. For Nick, who remarks that Gatsby turned out all right, the hero deserves respect, but perhaps does not inspire great admiration. Again, put the quotes into your analysis, into your ideas, okay? Remember, no quotes should be by themselves, all right? Don't say things like this quote shows or this quote reveals. Nope, okay? You can talk about how the doctor reveals or the therapist helps us to understand, all right? But you cannot have any drop quotes, all right? All right, let's see here. So let's say this. Let's say you are writing a paper and you want to use a quote by Simone de Beauvoir, okay? And you find this long quote. You get her book, and on page 691, you come across this long paragraph that you like, okay? But you can't use this whole passage in your paper at all. You got to pull something out of it, all right? So let's say then you decide to like cut out some things, some chunks of it. All right, I don't need any of these things. If I get rid of this stuff, then it won't change the meaning of the paper, okay? That's fine. And so then you want to still continue to cut it down, all right? And you want to essentially take the core idea of that quote and figure out how it connects to your story that you're reading, okay? So if your story, like in this example, is going to be the story of an hour, okay? This story is focused on a young married wife who realizes that she's not free within her marriage, okay? And that once her marriage is, which she thinks is over, is when she starts to have this freedom, okay? Then you can start to connect your research, your outside source, to the story that you want to write. So like in this case, I pulled out a couple of different quotes from the short story that I want to talk about. Because like for you, when you're writing your paper, you need to pull some quotes from the sea change and apply it to your outside sources as well. So like I like to make a list of the quotes I want to use from my story and the quotes I want to use for my research. And then I figure out ways to integrate both of them together, okay? So what you want to do is provide your claim, okay? Which is you're making some sort of analysis about existentialism, feminism, individuality, about the story, okay? And then, so like here's an example of a pretty long main idea for your paragraph, for a paragraph that's connecting this other story called The Story of an Hour, which I was just talking about, with a quote by Simone de Beauvoir, who I've also talked about. So here's an example. De Beauvoir's ethos is that women have forever been giving up their identities, much in a self-loathing way, in order to conform to the societal requirements of marriage. Chopin's Miss Mallard represents the masochistic woman who automatically goes into a self-repressive state to fulfill her role as the woman-turned-object wife. Okay, so I'm connecting these two people together. What de Beauvoir has said about women and how that relates to the short story. So now I start interweaving my quotes. Okay. Our heroine, Mrs. Mallard, was a lady who is, quote, young with a fair, calm face. But her youthfulness cannot save her from the effects of repression that brought lines to her face. The repression that she experiences is from having to, quote, enter into a state of humiliation at becoming a, quote, object of someone else, which in this case is Brentley, a man that seems nice enough and who, quote, she had loved sometimes, but often she had not. So here we have quotes from the short story and quotes from Beauvoir, okay? And we also have some brackets used to change the way that the word was conjugated, okay? Originally, this was entered, and this was changed to enter, all right? We have some ellipses to show that there were some things left out of this quote when the way it was originally written, okay? But that does not change the overall meaning. And then this bracket used for but, okay? To indicate a contrast. This word was not there. Sometimes, often, she had not. I included the but to show an emphasis, but often she had not. And brackets tell us that quote was not really originally there. Okay, you want to weave in quotes mixed in with your own discussion. All right, and your own. You don't want to just write your thing and then have a quote. You want to put it together. Put it all together. Okay. So again, by allowing herself to be objectified in order to receive some sense of meaning, Miss Mallard has to repress her inner soul and sense of herself. All right, and then we have our citation. Being alienated in herself keeps her from being possessed of self-assertion, which she eventually comes to realize as the strongest impulse of her being. Chopin and de Beauvoir. It isn't until the reality of her husband's death and the release of her captivity does she begin to drink in the elixir of life. Okay, so again, it's intermixing of the two quotes of the short story and of the research. Okay. Last thing I want to show you, which is going to be posted, is an example of your paper, even though your paper is going to be shorter than what I'm going to show you. Let's see, new share. Okay. This paper is 1,200 words. So let's just say we get rid of 200 words. Let's see. Let's see how many words this is. It's 1109. Oh, that was too many. All right, 1044. That's good. So if you write 1,044 words, your paper is about 3 pages. It's about 2.5 pages long. Okay. So we have, look, we have our formatting. We have our last name and page numbers up here. We have your name, my name, the class, and the date when it was due. All right, this was last semester. If I select all and I go to paragraph, this should be set up correctly. 0, 0, double. If this is blank, or this is blank, that means that there's inconsistencies in the whole thing. All right. It needs to say double line spacing and 0, 0 all the way around. Okay. We have a title. Now look, do you notice this? You see how it's straight down? Okay. A lot of people do their papers like this, where this is straight, this is all even, but then over here, it's like a mountain range. It's all different, okay? Do you see how this one is all straight, just like this side is, while this is all raggedy? Okay, that's because people often hit a line left when you should be hitting justify. See, justify. Now it straightens it out, okay? So you want to make sure every paragraph is justified. justified. And every paragraph has the last name and the page number. If you go up here and you delete the page numbers and you just type 1, and you manually put in the page number down here, it's going to say 1 also. You see that? This should say 3. This should say 2. You cannot manually type in the page numbers. You have to go up to Insert, and then go up to Page Number, top of page. And then you need to select this one, blank number 3, where it's on the right-hand side. Then you have to hit spacebar and put in the last name. When you insert it correctly, then when you go to page 2, it says 2. Page 3, 3. Page 4, 4. Okay. Now, next we have the works cited page. Works cited page begins at the very top of the page, the last page. It's not up here. It doesn't belong up here. It doesn't belong on this page. It belongs on the very last page, the very top. And then everything should be organized alphabetically. There should be a hanging indent. So you have the first line of the citation, and then any subsequent lines should be indented. Okay. This is exactly how your works cited page should look. If it does not look like this, you will receive points off. Okay. I'm going to post this sample paper. No, I can't post this sample paper because this paper is on what y'all are writing about. Bad faith. Oh, but this is about a story of an hour, which y'all didn't read. And this is about hills like white elephants, which you did not read. But this one's about sea change. All right, well, I'm just going to delete this paragraph so that way y'all can't copy it. All right. And I'm going to extend this so that way it is the right amount of words. There we go. Okay, great. All right, I'll post this so y'all can look at it. Okay. Your paper should look like this. You can download the sample if you want to. All right. I hope y'all are doing all right. Email me any questions that you have. I will talk to y'all later.